I'm life and confidence coach Dianna Leeder, and this is my podcast, the Crave More Life Roadshow. It's here we talk about emotional hits and lovingly kicking our own asses to get through them. Just so you know, it always comes down to being your beautiful, sassy self, living and loving from you, no matter what. So join me to hear about the healing journeys of other women, and you just might become a DIY ass kicker too. Hey DIY ass kickers. This is the Crave More Life Roadshow podcast with guest Pam McDonel. Pam is the owner of Sandbox Enterprises and Sacred Space Therapeutic Bodywork and is the author of Chapter 7 in the Wellness Universe Guide to Complete Self-Care, 25 Tools for Happiness. Her chapter is called Choose to Feel Happy, The Power of Gentle Touch and Mindfulness. A practitioner of energy, spiritual, and healing arts, Pam blends traditional alternative modalities with her natural intuitive abilities and gentle touch. She supports and empowers her clients to navigate challenging patterns, awaken the body's innate healing, and achieve wellness. Pam offers traditional therapies such as massage for relaxation and stress relief, alternative therapies of EFT tapping to release emotions, feelings, and beliefs that no longer serve her clients, and Reiki and other energy modalities for balance and harmony. Depleted from adrenal fatigue and other stress-related issues resulting from years of caregiving her mom who had Alzheimer's, Pam turned into her natural intuitive gifts and began a journey of self-discovery and healing. This led her to share with others who have a deep desire for personal healing, wellness, and harmony of the body-mind-spirit connection, which some have termed a little bit of WuWu Heaven. Pam has organized and facilitated online and in-person workshops for groups and individuals and participated in seminars and retreats. She has offered her expertise in massage therapy and EFT tapping to hospice guests and family members residing at Clare House, an end-of-life facility. Pam has a bonus daughter, son-in-law, and 2 grandboys. She loves walks on the beach, nature, watching sunrises and sunsets, reading, and quiet time. And the icing on the cake is that Pam is going to be a co-author of Find Your Voice, Save Your Life 2 that will be published in August of this year. Very excited about that. So let's get talking to Pam.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dianna. It's a pleasure to be here, and I am excited to just share with you and your group.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I have to tell you too, and I know this is kind of off cuff and off script if we actually have a script, but there's something about color I find with people, and purple is your color. It's just, yeah. I mean, it's actually bringing out the color of your eyes, I think.
Oh, thank you.
There you go.
Purple is my very favorite color, and blue is kind of right up there with it. But purple is my very favorite, yeah.
And they're beautiful. It's cool when you kind of get that intuitive sense about, this is my favorite, but it is also what makes you look fantastic. So there we go. So tell us a little bit about you and your history and emotional hits.
Oh my goodness.
We have like 4 hours. No, maybe not quite, but
a big thing to go to, right?
Yeah.
Oh man. I actually live in the house I grew up in. We moved here when I was 8 years old. I was displaced for a few years, of course, through marriage and moving to other parts of the world, but returned to take care of my mom in, probably about 1995. And then moved back here actually permanently to help take care of her in late 1995, early 1996. And it was during that time, actually after she passed away, and the next few years, that I realized that adrenal fatigue and those things that I just had been drugged down by. And that led me to the journey of finding me. Mm-hmm. Now, At that time, excuse me, in 2001, 2002, when she passed away, I was 52. So I had spent the bigger part of my life being what I call a chameleon, which is being, doing, saying everything that I thought everybody else needed me to be, do, or say. So I never really knew me. And that was the period of time when I really got focused and began to understand that there was a me, an actual me person, being underneath all of that. And who was she? So that's when I began kind of my journey. And it's, I'm still on that journey. I don't know that we ever stop being on that journey.
Yeah, I agree.
But,
Yeah, I agree. Can I take you back just a tiny bit,
yeah,
Pam?
sure.
Because um, the whole issue of adrenal fatigue is, I think, a big one for women, and we don't always especially women of our ages. And I don't think we often recognize what it is or why we get there, how we get there. So maybe if you wouldn't mind, maybe you could explain a little bit about that. Obviously you were a caregiver, and that's not just a physical job; that's an emotional job as well. So yeah, any kind of insight you can give us about that would be great.
So, what I realized for me, and I think this is true for most caregivers, because we kind of have that natural, I mean, some of us are thrown into it just because that, but many of us have that natural tendency. So, as a caregiver, and especially in a situation of consistent chronic illness like Alzheimer's or cancers or, whatever, we do the best to take care of ourselves, and we think we are, and we are to the very best of our ability. But no matter how good we try to take care of ourselves, it's never good enough. Um, it's and especially if you don't have other resources really to surround you. If you've got a family that there's 7 kids and everybody's taking a turn, you kind of get time to recoup and regroup. But actually what I learned is, as a highly intuitive person, highly sensitive person, an empath, I take on more than most people do.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to become drained and not really realize it unless you know those things about you. And at that time I didn't. So adrenal fatigue really is, your system just gets overloaded. You really start to shut down in different areas, meaning, you begin to have digestive problems, you begin to have um, illnesses, all kinds of things, and you're tired all the time. And no matter what you do, no matter how much rest you get, it's never enough.
Yeah.
So, until you really kind of get in tune with your body, and I've really been one that's always kind of paid, actually being that empath allowed me to feel very deeply. So it wasn't that I didn't know myself or know my body. It's just, it was hard for me to express that when I was busy expressing what I thought everybody else needed me to express.
Right. Right. I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the piece that is important to recognize, because we all think that we are taking care of ourselves. We all think that we can do that and we'll be just fine. And then there is that battle too that I think we don't recognize all the time about, what this is actually doing to us that we're not physically seeing. We may have issues, but would we connect it to the fact that we are empathetic and we are absorbing so much other energy, or that we are that we are caregiving and what that is taking from us? I don't think we always do. So knowing, as you said, knowing who we are is so important.
Well, and what I think, what I would say to people is just continue to be aware. Um, you're probably going to have some level of that fatigue, that physical, emotional, mental fatigue, but it doesn't have to become chronic. Just stay aware and take care of you. And I know we all say, "Yeah, I'm taking care of me," and we do, but that caregiving gene, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
really gets in the way.
It does,
And
and it is a gene. I agree.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so you just kind of have to stay aware. You have to have that mindfulness,
Mm-hmm.
um, and by that, a lot of people don't appreciate that word mindfulness so much, but what I mean by that is just being in the present moment more than you are either in the past or the future, but where you are right now, being mindful of you and your body and your needs, and being able to ask for those.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a lot of, of my issues. Is I could advocate for anybody else and everybody else really well. I do that really well, but doing that for myself is a bit more difficult.
Yeah. I hear you, sister. I hear
Yeah.
ya.
And those things don't happen overnight. That started for me when I was a child. Um, I don't remember when. I just remember I have always been the compliant, mindful, or mindful meaning I'm minding my elders and my parents, and
Mm-hmm.
always taking care of everybody else, always looking out after everybody else. So that wasn't something I just did because my mom got Alzheimer's. That was something I did forever.
All the time, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Wow. And you know that's there's always that rub, isn't there, between what we need and asking for it. Because
yeah,
it's not, we can be aware of it, and if we make a choice that we're not going to ask for it, or we're going to get it in a certain way, then that's one thing. But to not acknowledge it, to know it and just not acknowledge it, is a bit of a recipe for disaster, for sure. Yeah, in my
yeah. And
experience anyway.
it's a disservice to yourself.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just thinking as we're talking, my journey led me through 3 marriages and divorces.
Mm.
And that first marriage, when I was very young, I knew before we ever got married, I shouldn't be marrying. But I didn't have the strength to speak out because we had made all these plans, we had done all these things, we were to the day, and it wasn't. I couldn't say no. I can't go through with this. This is just not right. I just had to plow through, thinking that everything will be fine. It will all work out. Everything will work,
Mm.
but it doesn't always.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because I had a horrible childhood, because I really had a very loving, good childhood. I had parents that loved me, a good home. It's just, I don't know why things happen the way they do, except that those are the lessons we're supposed to learn.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to go through all those things to learn those lessons, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that, that's kind of every single lesson is the universe giving us a knock on the head saying, hello,
Are
still
you listening
here.
yet?
Yeah, still waiting. Yeah, yeah. When I think about that stuff, I can actually picture some magnificent woman sitting on a big throne or something somewhere, and she is the whole universe, and she's the one saying, "Oh, hi, here I am."
He's just watching.
Yeah,
Okay,
just
I
check.
wonder if she will get it this time.
Yeah, yeah. Here
Nope.
we go. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think that resonates with me, because I do believe, as you have just said, that we have something to offer, and we need to we need to match that. We need to be aligned with ourselves, in order to give that. And we're not aligned with ourselves if we are ignoring what we need.
Yeah, yeah. And I think we go through our lives experiences to learn, and we learn those things in hopes that later we can use those to help others, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so hopefully I've done that very well, and through through those experiences and being the empathic person that I am, and understanding feelings and beliefs and how they kind of work, you know, um, I trust that I'm going to be able to work with my clients and kind of lead them in a direction that they can kind of wake up to their own abilities, their own beliefs, their own person, that person inside of them that they came here to be, and just help them learn how to express that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Which is awesome. I think that's holistic practitioner stuff, right? That's
that's the woo-woo stuff.
that's it is, and it's awesome. It absolutely, and I love how you call it woo woo.
Well,
Because some people are quite offended by woohoo, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I have
Which,
to I kind of have to tell you that story. I was in a networking group, and we were kind of, working with each other and helping each other come up with bios and taglines and those kinds of things. And as a healer, you typically always struggle with that, I think, because you're just like, I just help people,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. There's no expectation there.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
And so we were kind of talking, and I was saying, okay, so these are the things I do. And one of the gals called out, and she looked at me and she goes, so what you really do is you just provide a little bit of woo-woo heaven, right? I went, yeah, exactly.
That's it. That's it. But that's a really cool way to describe it, because there is, whether people believe in a heaven or not really is
Yeah,
not the point. But heaven, the term for me represents um, a utopia of sorts. Just my take.
yeah,
And that utopia is a place where we're not struggling, where we can be ourselves no matter what. We're not, sitting back and being quieted because of challenges, or because of things like adrenal fatigue, because we take care of ourselves, and we really take care of ourselves.
right.
So yeah, I love that. I love that a lot. Yeah, a little bit of woo woo heaven.
Well, you're kind of talking. You mentioned the word heaven, and depending on where you're from and what your religion is, if you will, that does get kind of to be a sticky wicket, or it could be. But I feel very fortunate. I was brought up in the Midwest. I'm in Oklahoma, so we're known as the Bible Belt of America.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was brought up in a very strong Baptist background, and I'm very thankful for that. Um, but I feel like I have maybe an okay word would be kind of outgrown that a little bit, and really moved more into what I feel is a spiritual area of my life. So I don't really get hung up on a lot of the religious um, foundation. What was that word I want? Structured foundation anymore. Kind of like you talking about heaven is not that place of heaven and hell as maybe sometimes it's taught, but that place where we find that refuge, and we do find that utopia, and it is a place where we can um, be ourselves, and know that universe, that God, the creator, whatever that belief is that you have, is taking care of us and looking out for us. And all we've got to do is our part. And that's put one foot in front of the other every day. And sometimes when we get knocked down, we just get back up.
Right.
And we may take another step or two and get knocked down again. But, you know, that's really what life is. That's what we're here to do. So,
Yeah, you know, no matter where we are on our path, the emotional hits are going to keep coming.
yeah.
It's my belief that, yeah, regardless of what our spiritual or religious beliefs are, that we, you know, the best thing that we can do is to align to ourselves, you
Yeah.
know, and live from there. You know, live respecting who we are and what we offer, and the beings that we are. You know, that right down to, you know, what we need, what we want, what we desire. You know, how we help, how we support. All those things I think are so important. So yeah, it's a good distinction to make, because yeah, I mean, we could spend hours talking about, you know, the ends of the spectrum for, you know, religion or spiritual beliefs. But so tell me how you began after after you were suffering from the adrenal fatigue. Tell us how you started to align with yourself. What did you do to get back?
So at that time, I was still married. Um, and it took me a period of about probably 4 or 5 years to realize that anything was even wrong, that I was in that adrenal fatigue kind of state. And once I realized, um, I knew who I was before, and I came to understand who I was at that time. I'm a very sensitive person, so I can watch a movie and cry all the way through the movie. Um, I can, you know, I can pass by somebody and feel that energy, whatever it is, whether it's a happy or a not so happy energy. So I realized that I felt none of those things anymore. The point that came to me as I was watching a movie, and in my head I was going, you should be crying. You would typically be crying. You're not crying. You have no emotion at all. Why? What? And so that kind of woke me up. And then I began, you know, kind of looking at other things. And I understood I didn't feel well all the time. I was sleeping. When I was not awake, actually physically doing something, I was asleep. I could sit down and in 2 minutes, I'd be asleep. If I got still, I was asleep. So once I realized that, I started finding doctors that could tell me, not prescribe medications to fix the problem, but to actually understand what was going on so that we could get to the root of the cause, not just the symptom.
Right.
So I kind of got on that path. And then my husband at that time decided he needed to be single again. And we divorced. And I was
Excuse me just a minute. That was a very nice way that you described that, by the way. I have to just say, I've heard lots of women talk about about failed relationships, and yeah, that was good. I appreciated that.
Well, and I can talk about some of the things that, you know, from my perspective, were kind of ugly, but it's okay. It really was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
And so at that time, I was, let me see, how old was I then? That was in 2012. So I was 62. And I was going, okay, here I am. I'm single. I married him, and we agreed that it would be forever till the end of life. One of us died or both of us. And here I am, 62. I'm single yet again. What the hell am I going to do with the rest of my life? And how am I going to live? What am I going to live on? Because, you know, I was an administrative professional, and administrative professionals in the corporate world aren't paid great salaries.
Mm-hmm.
And I had 4 more years before I could draw my retirement, you know, my Social Security. So one thing that I had always wanted to do was be a massage therapist. And I went, okay, I'm going to go become a massage therapist. So I did.
Wow. Wow.
And,
Love it.
yeah, that took me about a year. And then that led me to Reiki. And I studied all the way, the three um, basically studies of Reiki, or 1, 2, and 3. And later on, I did become a Reiki master, not to teach, but just to have that additional information,
Mhm.
right? Um, I studied cranial sacral. Um, I studied EFT tapping, and that really has become my passion.
Mm.
Um, I love giving people relief from massage, but I really love seeing them come alive after we've done EFT.
Mhm.
It's a whole game changer for people. So, um, those were kind of the things I did that kind of brought me out of my slump, by going through all of those different modalities and several more. I mean, I've got a whole list of things that I've studied, but you go through those things, you learn a little bit from everything. You learn how it might affect you, or what you can draw from it, and then perhaps what you can share with others that may help them. So it was kind of that journey that really brought me out of that. I still have a few little issues, but you know, this body is getting older. And so it's time to begin to give up a little bit, but nothing so serious that drags me down. Um, I still love my naps in the afternoon when I can catch them, especially when I haven't had a good night's sleep. And I really haven't slept well since I started taking care of my mom. Once upon a time, my bedtime was like 9:30, and I was back up at 5. But these days, even though I might go to bed at 9:30, at 1:30, I could be awake, or
Mhm.
anywhere from there on. So you function the way you can function. And
Mhm.
if I'm up that early and I can't go back to sleep, then the next day, if I can grab a nap, I'll do it. If I can't, then I just look forward to the next night's rest, however much I can get.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's probably the one adrenal fatigue thing that has hung on
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. I hear you because I experience the same thing. Yeah, and whether it's hormones or,
Mhm.
of course, an adrenal fatigue is part of that as well, hormone imbalance. But
Right, right.
yeah, it's tough because if you can't sleep, then you're not waking up with the energy that you want to have to be able to do all the things that you want to do. So it's not only it's exhausting, but it's annoying. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, come on. And of
Just
course,
one night,
yeah,
please.
yeah, yeah, or two. I'll ask for two. Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting. And I love how you talked about, when you need to, you just take that time for a nap.
Yeah.
Because you just can't go full force, and it doesn't matter whether you are your age, my age, or 20. We have to give ourselves that time and opportunity to recharge.
And I kind of learned that when I decided to retire, well, kind of semi-retire from the corporate world. I did that in June of 2017. And I did that. I still work a day a week in the corporate world, but I did that because I wanted to really build this business, my massage business, my EFT business. And what I found is over that next year, it took me a whole year to really regroup, not only mentally, but physically. I would find myself in the afternoon just going, I just can't go one more minute. I've got to have a nap. And it might only be 15 minutes, but it might be 2 hours. And then it was just, I could not even believe the shift I had to make mentally and physically from being in the corporate world for all those years. Because I started when I was, like 18, 19. And it's a big shift.
So the shift that you made to allow yourself to have that nap, is that what you mean? Sorry, I'm being
Well,
here.
Yeah, and just the shift, the mind shift, moving away from the corporate way of doing things,
Right. Yeah,
right?
which is go, 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 right? I'm
Yeah.
sure they didn't have a little couch for you to have a nap on in the middle of your day at the
No.
office,
And
right?
let me tell you, there were lots of days when I needed one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can remember during that time, after I had taken care of my mom and I was still in that big 5-7 year slump. I was working for a nonprofit at that time, and at lunchtime, they kind of required we take our hour, and in that hour, I would drive down to a local park, have a quick sandwich, and then lay my seat back and take a 15-minute power nap
Nice.
every day almost. Go
Nice.
back to work, finish that up. I'd come home, do dinner, fall asleep.
Yeah. Yeah. Since that works so well for you, I'm going to have to try that, right? So if you can't find me between 2 and 3 o'clock,
I'll be at the local park with my seat laid
yeah.
back.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The other piece too that has such a connection to adrenal fatigue is us being caregivers and caregivers of people who we are connected to by blood and by love,
Mhm.
and the emotional, the draining of emotion that comes from that, the grief of seeing your parent, or for me it was my father, and my mother died many years ago, and that was shocking, but a very different situation.
Yeah. At the
But
same
yeah,
thing.
yeah. So to be to watch a loved one deteriorate like
Yeah.
that is difficult, even if you do have family support. It's difficult for everyone. um, and I don't think it's something that we always give ourselves room to experience or to feel. It's like, okay, we just have to show up. We just have to do this and get it done, and we'll feel it later. Well,
Yeah.
for me, it didn't work like that. I would come home after spending time with my father, and I would cry when I got home. And I have to say that I probably had way more wine in those months than I normally would. It was, yeah, like I don't want to feel this, but I'm feeling it anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's an important piece of this that we definitely don't allow ourselves to recognize.
And for me, my checking out, I think of your drinking wine as your way of checking out so you didn't have to feel it.
Hmm.
And my way of checking out was probably falling asleep. I had done that from a very early age. I realized as I've looked back over my life, um, that's how I kind of escaped, if you will, was to be asleep. And even when you're not asleep, you can sometimes we just check out mentally.
Hmm.
We just check out. I don't know how else to say that, but you're just not here.
Yeah,
Just not here.
yeah.
And
And that's important. It's important to recognize, I think, each of us, why we're not there, why we don't feel safe enough to be there. If it's in your experience or mine, with an aging parent, then it's the grief of having a parent, watching a parent go through what they have to go through. And I'm sure that there's part two somewhere inside about maybe this is going to happen to us. So there's
yeah,
a lot of stuff going on there that yeah, I think we want to check out from, but we need to
but you
really
have
need
to
to
stay
experience.
connected.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not only the grief, but it's the responsibility. I was really the sole responsibility for my mom at that time. I have an older brother, but he was in another state. It wasn't, he was another story. But um, needless to say, I was the sole caregiver at that time, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I made all the decisions. That was a choice I made, um, because just because at that time I felt like that's what I had to do.
Yeah. And
So,
isn't that completely acceptable and normal? That
well,
is,
sure,
yeah, that's you.
sure,
Yeah,
yeah,
which
you
it should
know.
be celebrated actually.
So it's not only that grief of just seeing them suffer, but empathically you're suffering with them,
Mm-hmm.
and then you've got the
Yeah.
responsibility on top of that, and the financial responsibility and the care responsibility, and then you've got to make those final decisions at the end when it comes to, okay, do we give nourishment or we withhold?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do we just make them comfortable, or do we try to fix it?
Yeah.
And I'm telling
Big,
you,
big decisions.
those are big decisions, and those are the things that after it's all said and done, you go away and say, really, did I do enough? Maybe I could have done more. Was there something else, one more thing I could have done to make it better for her or him? You're always second guessing yourself, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can't.
Yeah.
And I was like you. My father died when I was 35 of a heart attack. I was in California. I didn't even get to be here when he passed away. I did get to come later, but I'm on the phone with my brother when he's telling me you need to get home. And I'm going, okay, well, I just missed the last flight. So I'll be out early in the morning. I'll be there just as soon as I can. And he's going, well, wait a minute. Oh, the doctors just walked in. Dad passed away. And I went, like, he's gone? I mean, it's one of those, you don't believe it. You're hearing it over the phone and you're going, what? No, I was just there at Christmas. He was fine. And it's February 4th and he's like dead. And then you have something like Alzheimer's that goes on for years. And you're just like, that's another part of it, because you feel the guilt of going, can this just not be over? Not only for her, but for us.
Yeah.
I mean, why? Why? And then you feel guilty of going, really? You're asking for your mom to die?
Yeah.
And it's all those things that play in again to that adrenal fatigue,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
guilt, all
It's
those
true.
things.
Yeah. It kind of bleeds you dry, doesn't it?
Yeah.
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 Absolutely. Absolutely. So I love how you actually brought yourself back from that. It's and I recognize too. You said it's a bit of a work in progress. I think it probably is for all of us,
Yeah.
to pay attention. I don't think that it's not just kind of a one. Do this once and you're good. It is
One and
ongoing.
done. No.
Yeah, yeah, and it comes down to, as you talked about in the beginning, it's awareness. So as you did, we should all be aware of our bodies and how we feel and what's changing all the time, and be open to whatever is happening. And even if you simply take, in my opinion, even if you simply take a piece of paper and you write down, well, this feels different today.
Hmm.
Even
Yeah.
as a journaler, to be able to log those kinds of things and put them on paper, and so you recognize it. Look at, here's, yeah, this is shifting, or this is a pattern, or
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think we have to honor ourselves.
And that's a big part of it, is the recognition. That
Mm-hmm.
was a good point. Thank you for bringing that out, because you can experience things all day long. And if you don't recognize them and acknowledge them, you just keep
They just
going through
build.
that same pattern, right?
Yeah, And don't they then become the, oh, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, which doesn't always feel. I think it's almost a release for some of us, but it doesn't feel, it doesn't do anything for us.
Yeah.
I don't think it supports us. The release is fine, but to just be releasing and just be in that place, I think of forever saying, oh yeah, woe is me, and I've had this, and then I had to deal with this, and it was awful. And yes, for sure, acknowledge all that stuff, but don't leave it at that.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I kind of, how I feel about EFT tapping is we can use that to soothe in the moment, which we need many, many times. But if we want to nurture for a lifetime, we have to do that deep, sometimes really hard work to, like you say, really release those things and get past them rather than continuing to relive them in one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard work.
It's hard work.
But so necessary. And it's interesting to think, I mean, so, we've been talking about adrenal fatigue, but there are so many medical and physical issues that come from carrying that kind of stress and absorbing that kind of stress that, I think that for a lot of women, my take anyway, is that's a bit of a new concept. It's because for so many years it's been, oh, you have an ache, then go get a pill. So to start to kind of put two and two together, and it's not just I'm stressed so I feel crappy, it's thinking really deeply about what those stresses are, right, as you did,
Yeah.
and what you can do about them, as you did.
Or if you don't go get a pill, you get it'll go away. Just give it time. It'll go away. It's no big deal.
You're just stressed.
Yeah. Your bone's not broken.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not bleeding. Yeah.
You're not bleeding. For me, well, it still is kind of, after taking care of my mom, after kind of going through that, it was just like, I came to the realization that all the little things that we fuss about sometimes are just really, it's not that they're not important. It's just that my saying got to be, you know what? And I apologize for anybody that's listening that this is a little bit too graphic, but mine was always, if it's not life or death or gushing blood, it is just not worth ruining your day over. And it just isn't. There are so many little things that we grab onto and let them drag us down when, hey, there's a whole lot of other big gushing blood, life and death things that need our attention.
So true, so true. So talk about some of that stuff relative to where you were. So thinking about how you know being aware of what was happening and being able to change that in the moment.
Okay. I think the thing that comes to mind, so I'm going to share this, is I was angry with my brother for a really long time because I felt like he abandoned us, my mom and I, in the time that we really needed him. I didn't know why. I just knew he abandoned us. I understand now because we've had that conversation and he's told me what was going on with him. And he was having his own issues. So, but the thing is I was so angry with him that it just zapped all of my energy. I couldn't focus on taking care of my mom. I was a wife and mother at that time. I couldn't focus on that. I couldn't focus on me. I couldn't focus on anything except just being pissed at him for abandoning us. Mm-hmm. Well, then I realized, it came to me and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I have got to be able to take care of our mom. I have got to be a wife and mother, and I have got to take care of myself. So knock it off, get over it. Back to that, get over it. Not really understanding at that time what I felt. I didn't know I felt abandoned. I didn't know I felt whatever it was, all I was feeling. I just knew I was mad at him for leaving. Mm-hmm. Well, once I realized that, I just had to let it go. And I did as much as I could. Was it still there? Sure. Did it come back up and rear its ugly head occasionally? Sure. But I had to get past that so that I could do these other things. Mm-hmm. And then, I had to decide, okay, I've got to spend this much time over here with mom, which is more like this much time, right? And then I've got to spend this much time over here with my husband and our daughter. And then I get this much time, maybe, for me.
Yeah.
Maybe. So that's probably one of those turning points that I had to let it go. I just had to let it go so I could do other things.
Right.
And then the other point was, when I realized that in that 5 or 7 year stretch of just the movie that I was watching going, oh, you should be crying. I know that in your normal state, you would be crying at this movie. So why aren't you? And then I had to do that discovery. Mm-hmm. And, kind of went on that journey, that path of the journey.
Yeah. And what a brave path to go on, really. So kudos to you, because I think that's just so, so valuable. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And my story doesn't even begin to touch what so many other people have to go through in their life or have gone through in their life. But it's kind of like I would like everybody to know, whatever your story is, however gentle or however rough and cruel it is, it's still your story. Mm-hmm. And it's still the path that you have to go through. And never, ever compare yourself to somebody else's issues, because there's always going to be easier ones and there's always going to be worse ones. Right. But your path and what's happened with and for you is yours. So really embrace that and find through that what you need to know and how you need to go forth in the way that you want to go forth, in the person that you want to be, finding your voice, mm-hmm. saving your life, not always somebody else's.
Yeah.
Right.
Love that. Yeah. Love that. Beautiful. Great place to wrap up to. That was really good. Thank you. So
I just go with what I'm told.
Yes. Yeah. And that's good. That's good. I'm glad, because you're right. It all comes back to us. All comes back to us. And if we recognize, first of all, that we have the power
yep.
to make changes and shifts for ourselves, then that's number one. And, and then we go on to the other things that you and I've talked about today, the awareness, the shifts. Yeah.
And you can't control anybody else, anything else that happens out there. The only thing you have control of is how you're going to respond, mm-hmm. whatever happens.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I call that kicking your own ass. With love. With love. Yeah. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. So I have one last question for you though, Pam.
Okay.
Can you tell the listeners something about you that's funny, or something fun that, about something fun about you that you don't normally share?
Oh, geez. I don't know that I'm a fun person.
I think you're a fun person. You're a really fun person.
Something funny about me. Oh, Lord have mercy. No, I don't think I can.
Anything funny that happened to you?
Oh, there's probably been all kinds of funny things. Let me see. I can probably share that I once upon a time scuba dived. That's kind of been put on hold with some vertigo issues, but I guess this is kind of funny. So I went to kind of a little vacation with my brother, his wife, and two girls way back when. And I wasn't scuba diving yet, but we were doing snorkeling. Well, I have a tendency to have motion sickness. So I can scuba dive really well, generally, although I have been known to throw up on occasion through my regulator, which is not a fun event, but hey, that's kind of funny to everybody else. All my things are funny to everybody else, not so much to me. But anyway, we were snorkeling this day. I'm down looking at the fish, and all of a sudden this wave of nausea comes over me and I'm throwing up. My niece is next to me and she's going, Mom, Dad, look, Aunt Pam's throwing up, the fish are eating it. And I'm just like, seriously. Yeah. So that was a funny story on me.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that would have been that's probably a family thing that gets repeated at dinners and whatnot, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's cute. Good.
We do still laugh about it. And it was funny. I mean, I'm used to it. I'm just, you do what you got to do when you got to do it. That's all.
Absolutely. Like there's no telling your stomach to not throw up.
No.
Sorry. Not happening. Well, thanks for
there you go.
Yes, thank you for being that vulnerable, because it's just a nice way for people to get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah. I am human.
Yes, aren't we all? Yeah. So, that being said, thank you so much for showing up today. I really do appreciate it. It's been fun talking to you, as it always is, and I can't wait to work with you on the book.
I know. I'm excited about that too.
Me too. Yeah, very, very excited. Yes, thank you so much, and I'm sure that the listeners have gotten all kinds out of your story. Yeah, absolutely.
I hope so.
That. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me. It's been fun.
My pleasure. And listeners, thank you so much for showing up today. And all Pam's information, all her social media links and that kind of thing are all in the show notes. So take a peek there and connect with her. Her latest book, of course, hold it up there, Pam, give it a read. It's I can't even see the top, and
it is the Complete Self-Care Guide 25. Okay, let's start again. Wellness Universe Guide to Self-Care, 25 Tools for Happiness. Yeah. I'm chapter 7. Be sure you grab a copy and read it.
That's right. And check out that chapter 7. It's awesome. Yeah. So again, thank you. And thanks for showing up, listeners. And you know that every time you show up, no matter what you're doing or what you're listening to or what you're taking in, that you are kicking your own ass just a little bit just by showing up. So thank you so much. And we'll see you next time.
Okay. Bye-bye.
If you like today's podcast, hit subscribe at the bottom on your way out, and come find me at cravemorelife.com for even more DIY ass kicking.